Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our All Recovery group. This is a hybrid group. My name is Craig, and as always, it's a pleasure to be before you to talk about some good information dealing with recovery.
Yep. Good afternoon, and I'm Karen.
And so, on today, I believe Karen and we were talking about mentality and addiction. Victim mentality and addiction. This article was brought to you by waypointrecoverycenter.com. And this is a very good uh, lesson or group of information or very good material. Let me put it like that. So we're going to be talking about this because there's a lot of times a lot of people that we meet feel that they are hopeless or powerless. And so they may not even realize it, or they could be just very manipulative and being or conveying or expressing that they are the victim of their circumstances. All right. And so uh, if you want to read some first, or I can read some.
You can start.
All right, I will start. All right. And so it says, like I said before, victim mentality and addiction. The article says building a life free from the burdens of substance abuse requires rethinking old thoughts and behavior patterns. All right. So building that title alone states a lot. It says building a life free from burdens of substance abuse requires, number one, to rethink old thoughts and behavioral pattern. And so we have a thing in cognitive behavior that talks about reinforcing positive, reinforcing positive behaviors. And in order to do that, you have to change your thought process and replacing them from old thoughts with new positive thoughts. It says one common obstacle many people in recovery must overcome is the habit of thinking of themselves as victims of their circumstances. History has proven that the human spirit is amazingly resilient. All right, it says history has proven that the human spirit is amazingly resilient. I love that word resilient. And for those who may not know what resilient means, I'm gonna give you the definition to my best belief is that someone who is able to bounce back from a condition previously that they have experienced. And so a lot of times if you are in the state of substance use disorder, you are able to bounce back through the help of recovery. Tapping into this natural resiliency is a vital part of recovery process. All right. So it says playing the victim in your personal relationships. Falling into the victim role is common among substance abusers because it allows them to manipulate the people they are closest to into enabling their addiction. When you portray yourself as a victim, the people around you go out of their way to relieve your immediate suffering, even if their actions are unhelpful in the long term. And so the article give us an examples or some examples of someone who's portraying the victim mentality. And so one bullet says, you complain about being overwhelmed by student loan debt, so your mother slips you extra cash that you use to purchase drugs or alcohol. And so that's a form of manipulation, as the article talks about. And so those who are in recovery, I am in recovery. Karen is not in recovery, but I am in recovery. And so what I know firsthand what it's like to be manipulative under the use of substance use, under the mentality to be manipulative, to be conning, to be conniving, because when you're not in your right state of mind, because I know, for example, for a fact that drugs alter your mind state. And so when drugs alter your mind state, you begin to have these distorted thoughts and ideas. And so manipulation is one way, as the article says, you said to your moms, I'm in student debt. And so that's why uh, your mom will give you money, and you'll use that same money that she's giving you to assist you to pay off your student loan debt, and you go take it and misuse it. Good afternoon, Juan. Juan says,
I can sense the energy through his comments,
yeah,
right?
yeah, because he stressed the word great. Right, great definition. It's great day. It's a great day to be clean. And so we have to, if we can, we got to give Juan his credit through our system. How you be doing that? Because he's been attending faithfully, and it's always good to see you logging in, Juan. And I'm rooting for you. I know the whole team is rooting for you to keep on the straight and narrow, and keep up the good work, man. So the second bullet says, you show up on your sister's doorstep after being evicted. So she lets you stay at her home rent-free, even though she's worried about you being under the influence around her young children. That's a very dangerous state. However, due because our family members love us so dearly, they're willing to go the extra mile to see us, not to see us suffer, as the article talks about, whether it be student loan debt or homelessness or sleeping outdoors in the elements. So we turn around and we repay them when we're under the influence of alcohol or drugs. We repay them by abusing their kindness for weakness. And so the article, what we're talking about today, we're talking about victim mentality and addiction. And so we're just going over some of the points, the bullet points that really give us some good example of people playing the victim and manipulating family members to assist us, where they're not genuinely assisting us, but they know that we have a problem and we're not addressing the issue. However, they are doing more damage than good. The third bullet says, you constantly tell your friend that he's the only one who really understands what you've been going through. So he continues to let you into his life, even after you've stolen money or personal belongings to feed your habit. And so we have family and friends who genuinely love us, who care for us. And when we're under those states, because they know that prior to using or being under the influence of substance use disorders or abusing alcohol and drugs, they know that we probably we are good people. We could be people that can be trusted. We are people who can be loyal, can be honest, people who can be loving. And so therefore they know the old us, but the new person, has, due to drugs, has taken on the form of a very conniving person. So they go out their way. I'm talking about family members and friends who goes out their way, in the hopes of us turning our life around. However, like I stated before, we're doing more harm than good to them. So it's sad because the disease of drug addiction, alcohol, which is a drug, is so sad. It's a family disease, because not only the person that's actually using it, but our family members are affected by our drug use as well. So the article continues, says, blaming others for your misfortune is closely associated with a victim mindset. For example, You may try to justify your drinking by saying you would need to drink if your job wasn't so stressful or if your spouse wasn't so critical of your action. And now, I used to be one of the person, uh, before I got married, I used to work in warehouses. And so a lot of times we had to stand on our feet. It's like back-breaking work. And so after the end of the day, working 8 to 10 hours, feet be hurting, back be hurting. I got to catch the bus, stand out in the cold. I got a long commute. And so in my mind, I want to reward myself for such hard labor. I say to myself, I deserve a drink. I deserve a drug because I work all day long and I need to relax. But those are crutches. And anyone, now not to say that we should reward ourselves after working hard, but there are good rewards and there are bad rewards. So we have to, like the article says, we have to replace old habits of thinking and old patterns of behavior. And so instead of me, if I had good coping skills at the time, Karen, I would have chose another reward system, a healthy reward as opposed to an unhealthy reward. And what can be a healthy reward? I could have rewarded myself at that given time after working so hard all day. Well, I could have went home and soaked my feet. I could have went and bought
Bought
me.
yourself an ice cream.
Say it again, Karen.
I said, bought yourself an ice cream.
Could have bought myself a nice ice cream. Debbie says,
She just said it is, yes, it's so true.
yes, it's so true. Good afternoon, Debbie. I'm glad you can join us as well. And so, yeah, I could have soaked my feet since they was hurting. I could have got me a nice ice cream, a banana split. That's one of my favorite. And I could just relax and got myself ready for the next day. And if I felt the next day was too strenuous or stressful, I could found another way of relaxing or rewarding myself. And there's plenty of ways. You can read a book. You can talk to someone about how are you feeling, and so because a lot of times we are afraid to let someone know that we're having these thoughts of using. And so we around here, we like to encourage people to tell on their moods or what the thoughts that you're having. And so not to belabor the point, I just want to share that with you. So the article continues, says, blaming other places stresses on your personal relationship, fracturing necessary support system, and preventing you from fully owning up to the consequences of your action. And so it's talking about responsibility, taking some responsibility for our actions, because a lot of times we call it shifting the blame. So we don't want to take responsibility for our own action. It's always when we're under the drug use, we said it's all your fault. The reason I'm using drugs, it's all your fault because things are the way they are. No, especially as men, because as Bible believing men, the Bible tells us we have to, regardless of what, we are the head. So therefore, regardless of whatever's going on, God is holding us responsible over the household and over the family. All right. And so I just wanted to just give that. I don't want to preach, but I just want to share that we are responsible for our action. And yes, things come up, circumstances do happen, situations do occur. However, we have to don't take matters in our own hand. There is so much support out here for people who having a difficult time. Just be able to reach out and ask for help. And we here at Capital Recovery Center, we would love to help you. All right. And so the next one we're going to talk about the victim mentality and low self-esteem. Wow. You feel like reading a little bit, Karen?
Yeah, so I also wanted to share. So even though I am not in recovery in terms of like being or abusing mind altering substance, and as you mentioned, addiction is a family disease. So even myself being on the outside and witnessing a parent struggling, you also learn a type of victim mentality as well. Because if anything went wrong in my life, at least,
I never looked at it. No.
I was always like, oh, it's happening because of my dad's fault, because he's like this and he made me do this and that, or my life sucks because of XY circumstance. So I may not be recovering from substances, but I am also recovering from all the mental trauma, mental abuse that was happening, during the experience. So I'm also trying to unlearn that victim mentality.
So you share some of the pain that your father maybe was feeling at the time. He may be masked. He probably used that to mask his pain. You may use your pain in a different way, whereas you learning how to cope with it and how to express it more openly.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah. So we're going to talk about the victim mentality and low self-esteem. All right. That's good.
It says falling into the trap of having a victim mentality can be a sign of low self-esteem. Someone with low self-esteem doesn't feel as though his or her actions have any consequences. They make statements like, I'll never amount to anything, so why should I continue to try? No one will forgive my past mistakes, so I should just get used to being alone. Bad things happen no matter what I do. I tried to get sober, but I relapsed. Being clean just won't work for me. When a victim mentality is due to low self-esteem, it's important to find ways to focus on your positive attributes. This might include expressing yourself through art, music, or creative writing. Volunteering at a nonprofit organization or exploring your spirituality are also excellent ways to boost self-esteem. Trying a new sport. I know that's why I started playing soccer. It was like a little gateway to share some time with my dad, and I loved it. I fell in love with it. So
That's good.
when you realize all the gifts you have to offer the world, it will be easier to move past the habit of seeing yourself as a victim.
That's some great information, because a lot of times people do have self-esteem issues or low self-esteem issues. And I like the way it says, focus on your positive attributes. We're taught to meet people where they're at, focus on their strong points. Because a lot of times if we dwell on our weaknesses, we fall short on it. And so the article is basically telling us or letting us know that there is some strong points, even though you may have some weaknesses in your life, to even think that you are worthless or you don't have, or there's no hope. Those are weaknesses. And when we know that you may have creative writing skills, you may be into music, you may be creating and drawing, and you haven't even tapped into that in a long time. So those things a person should focus on, rebuild those things, because they are so instrumental in helping a person to thrive in life, because you don't have to relapse when you are able to learn your skills and identify the skills that basically a lot of them is innate God-given skills. These are traits that you've been born with, and God has blessed a lot of people. I know a lot of people who are good writers, and they don't, they write, but they give up on it, and they say, "Oh, I'm not good at it," but not realizing that they may surpass a lot of people, especially in music. Now I look at a lot of these like entertainers um, who are able to sing or whatever genre you're into. A lot of them feel that that they don't have what it takes until they get inside of the booth and realize they are very talented. So that just goes to show that we are some people who have some strengths and we have some weaknesses. Work on the strength and then we tackle the weaknesses later on down the line. Developing a victim mentality after trauma. Wow. Sometimes people who suffer from a victim mentality have developed self-destructive thoughts and behaviors because of past trauma. They have survived child abuse, domestic violence, sexual assault, or other traumatic experiences and are struggling to move forward with their lives. Exposure to past trauma does have a tremendous impact on one's life, but no single individual is defined by one experience. Our lives are shaped by the situations that are beyond our control, as well as the choices we make and our relationship with the people around us. When you allow trauma to define your worth as a person, it becomes too easy to use drugs and alcohol to numb your pain and avoid moving forward with your life. And so, a lot of times,
True.
it's so true, right? And so, a lot of times we have these self-defeating thoughts or self-believing perception or behaviors that we think that we cannot move forward because due to our situation or because our situation and we begin to make bad choices. And a lot of times you have to encourage yourself. You have to, you really have. A lot of times we look for other people to
Show up for us.
show up for us, give us some affirmation, but a lot of times we have to have our own motivational thought and belief system that we are somebody, we are people who can achieve, we are people who can move forward beyond our current situation, and drugs is not the answer, and so we don't have to mask. A lot of times we don't even realize that we are masking our pain and suffering by using drugs. We think it is because we see society, people using it, and not realizing that those who we may witness on social media or in our community using drugs, we may think they're just using it to have a good time, but in all actuality, they probably using it to mask their own pain and suffering. So you don't have to do the same. You don't have to be a part of that culture, and you can move beyond the abnormal because that's an abnormal culture and abnormal behavior. And so you can become what people call the corny crowd or the crowd that seems boring. But in all actuality, when you look at the crowd that people define as corny or boring, those are the people who are investing in their lives and in their future for not only for the present circumstance or self-fix, they're investing in their preservation of long generational wealth. And so I encourage anyone that's watching this to invest in yourself because you are valuable. You are so valuable.
Debbie said, speak that truth.
Speak that truth. Thank you, Debbie. And we want to let everyone know, please have them like, subscribe. What else?
Notifications turned on.
Hit the notification, let them know, share, let them know that we're here every Thursday at 1 o'clock. And we're always going to be talking about all recovery. This is an all recovery hybrid meeting. You can either come here, be a part of a group setting with us, me, Karen, Mike, Rainer, and we'd love to have a group setting. This is a support group where we can share in a room where people don't be judgmental, and we can have a open, honest discussion. And so the next one, I believe we're going to talk about seeing yourself as a survivor not a victim. Woo!
So I also wanted to share the sentence where it says exposure to past trauma does not have a tremendous impact, does have a tremendous impact on one's life. It just reminded me that I never realized I was on survival mode for a very long time. When my dad left, I realized I didn't know what to do with myself anymore because what I thought was the problem was no longer there. And then I was like, okay, so now what do I do with myself?
Yeah.
I'm like, dang, now I have to really, now I have no excuse
Reality
to
said
focus
that.
on myself and work on myself. I have nobody to blame. So now that definitely, it just reminded me of that.
A wake-up call.
Yeah, that wake up call.
Wow. Yeah. And so seeing yourself as a survivor, not a victim. You want to close this out with that, Karen?
Yes. Occasionally feeling discouraged and overwhelmed is a normal part of being human. But it's dangerous to form your entire identity around a victim mentality. When you feel as though you have no power over your addiction, personal relationships, career, or finances, you won't be able to move forward with a sober life for yourself. When you seek treatment for drug or alcohol addiction, you'll learn to process past trauma in a way that promotes healing, take responsibility for your own decisions and actions, accept others as they are, face past mistakes and the consequences of poor decisions, and avoid giving power to others by allowing them to control your feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. That's so true because I feel like when you're so dependent on the substance, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, like you'll do anything, and to a certain point you relinquish your control to the to your feelings, your thoughts, because now you have to kind of bend or mold to the other person so that, I don't know, they can give you money or you can get the substance.
Yeah, and that's go back into the manipulation aspect because your life becomes stifled. You really become stagnant. It took me a long time to realize that once I began to get into my sobriety, Karen, one day I was just sitting and thinking, doing some self-reflecting, and it's like, where have you been all these years? Like I was in a daze, like I was alive, but I was asleep. And I was like, wow, you wasted so many years.
Yeah.
Whereas I could have been doing so much better. And so manipulation, when people play as the victim role, we become very manipulative. And it's sad that we don't care who we hurt in the process, because the drug itself seems more important at the given time. And not to say that people lose all of their morals and principles and values, because I'm a strong believer that once you learn these things as a young age, you still have them. However, it become altered. And so once you become sober, you begin to utilize them and apply them in your daily lifestyle. So.
It says addiction is a chronic illness, much like diabetes or asthma. It's not attributed to a lack of willpower or a moral failing. Addiction requires treatment, but it's only a small part of your life story. Your destiny is entirely up to you.
So remember, your destiny is entirely up to you. All right, and so we don't have to play the victim role no more. We've been given some good information. Hopefully, that whoever been watching, that you apply it.
Take control of your life.
Take control of your life. So with that, y'all have a blessed week. We'll see you on the next.